All right, so let's get a little deeper into listening. I spoke about transformational listening. We're going to talk about the 5 levels of listening. I love talking about the 5 levels of listening, okay? So we have a pyramid, and the pyramid starts all the way at the bottom with level 1 listening, interrupting, okay? And this is the lowest level of listening. Interrupting is where I'm listening long enough to think I know what you're going to say and then I'm going to cut you off, okay? And the problem with interrupting is most people can't think when they're talking to someone when they know that person's going to cut them off. They're going to interrupt them. So it really lowers the level of thinking that's going to go on when the speaker knows that they're going to be interrupted. So if you're a level 1 listener, that's something you're going to want to work on to get yourself up to the next level, and the next level after that. Keep going up to level 5, because level 1 listening, it really assumes that you know what your person's going to say. It lets the person know sometimes non-verbally that you want to cut them off. And often interrupters do exactly that. They interrupt people in one-on-one conversations and group conversations. You may be at a group meeting or a board meeting, whatever it may be, and you see that there's one person that keeps cutting people off. Okay, so some people experience that as rude. Some people are having fun just back and forth with each other. But in terms of coaching sessions, if you have a coach that keeps cutting you off, it makes it really hard for you to think. And the level of listening really has a lot to do with the outcome, which is the level of thinking. A level of thinking leads to the outcome in the session where the person has breakthrough aha moments. So we really want to learn how to and practice great listening. Okay, so that's level 1, lowest level, leads to the lowest level results. Next level, level 2, waiting. We're waiting for the person to stop talking before we speak. Okay, now this is actually better than interrupting because it's more respectful. At least I'm waiting for my turn. But level 2 listeners are waiting for the other person to shut up in many ways so they can speak. And the speaker actually often knows that. Okay, so we can tell when we're talking to a level 2 listener because even though they're not cutting us off verbally, sometimes they're in certain ways non-verbally cutting us off. They keep opening their mouth like they want to speak. Maybe they're not even paying attention. Maybe what they say to us when we're done talking has nothing to do with what we said. So a lot of level 2 listeners actually think they're great listeners because they know to wait for their turn to speak. Maybe they took a class or something. They learned to stop interrupting people. But what often happens is that the waiting leads to the other person they just stop talking. Okay, they realize, I see that you want to talk, and they hand back the mic to you. And you were like, oh, if you're a level 2 listener, like, I guess this is going well because we're not cutting each other off. But again, the important thing here is the level of thinking, because level of thinking is going to tell us the level of outcome. The reward for a great coaching session is an aha moment. Very few people have that with someone who is just waiting for their turn to speak. Okay, and usually the person is employing a consulting mindset that they're the expert, which never really lets things off the ground in terms of coaching, which is about helping me connect with my own personal best thinking. So that requires better level listening, great questions also, but right now we're focusing on the listening piece, which is very foundational. So a lot of people have taken an active listening course, which is level 3, mirroring, okay, where you learn how to mirror, to paraphrase what people are saying. Okay, so they listen and they say, here's what I heard you say. You said that you woke up this morning, you burnt the toast, you're really frustrated about that because you're hungry. Makes sense, that's mirroring, okay? And that is much better than level 2, because in order to do mirroring, in order to mirror someone, you actually have to be listening at least to the words that they're sharing, okay? So this is a tool that is often shared and taught in conflict resolution, where both people who are in a conflict have to learn how to mirror each other. Here's what I heard you say. Here's what I heard you say. Yep, you got it. Yep, you got it. Okay, so this is a great improvement from interrupting and from waiting. Level 3 is where mirroring. What's the limitation of mirroring? If every time someone says something, the only tool I have is to mirror, to repeat back or paraphrase, the person kind of feels after a while they're talking to a parrot. Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, I just said that. So it's a limited tool. It's an important tool, and it's an important foundation to learn how to paraphrase the content, but it's limited in that sometimes the person can just feel like you're parroting what they're saying. It also, is something that we can sometimes do with half a brain. So I know someone who's very proud of themselves that they think they're a great listener, because when they're on the phone with someone, they could be typing a report or, doing some kind of work, and they're like, the person has no idea on the phone that I'm multitasking. And that may be true, they may not, and they may or may not actually, but it's really limited in terms of coaching, because it's something that we can just mirror back what they're saying, not really getting to why they're saying it and what's the heart of it, or perhaps what they're not saying. It requires a higher level of listening. So that takes us to level 4. Level 4, sensing, where I'm paying attention not only to the words, which is in level 3, I'm paying attention to the nonverbals. And the nonverbals really can guide me into what's important and what the person is avoiding, what the person is excited about. A twinkle in their eye. So I'm paying attention to the nonverbals. I'm using the different senses that I have to pay attention to what's going on in the client, to pay attention to what's going on inside of me as I'm listening to the client. And another part of that is I'm making sense of what they're saying. So I'm listening to what they're saying, I may mirror back, and I'll pause for a minute and think about why this makes sense that the person is saying this based on who they are and their background and all that kind of stuff. So I am using my intuition. I'm picking up on what they're saying, what they're not saying. I may be noticing a twinkle in their eye and saying, notice the twinkle in your eye. Tell me more about that. I notice you're biting your lip when you talk about this. Tell me more about that. That's paying attention to the different nonverbals that are going on, where the person is hesitating or thinking, So great coaches are already getting to level 4, where they're paying attention to the nonverbals. They're paying attention, wow, I felt excited inside of myself as I listened to that. I may share that with my client. And then they're also thinking about the meaning. They're making sense of what that means to them. So that's amazing listening. So you'd think that would be it. Great coaches are using level 4 listening. How could they do anything more? So this is the part that I get really excited about, which is level 5 listening. Level 5 listening is called transforming. Okay, and level 5 listening is really tapping into some research that goes all the way back to the 1970s, where Harvard University studied teachers in a very interesting way. You may have heard of the Pygmalion effect research. And what they did was they tricked teachers into thinking that certain kids in their class were late bloomers. They went into these classrooms, they did standardized testing, saw people pretty much on the same level with each other, and then they pulled a couple names out of the hat, Jimmy, Sally, and Sue, and gave it to the teacher and said, our tests tell us that these 3 kids are going to outperform the other kids by the end of the year. They're just late bloomers, but they have incredible potential. And they did this in many classes. They came back and saw that, in fact, those 3 kids that they picked out of a hat were outperforming the other students by a factor of 3 or 4 times better. Now, why? What happened? Okay, now what happened is that the teacher, because they believed that these students were going to be better and outperforming the other students, they, through subtle ways and sometimes not so subtle ways, invested more in the student, really believed in them. And when they believed in them, they treated them differently, and that led to better outcomes. And so that's really the heart of level 5 listening, is really believing in the client's mind and in their ability to come up with great answers, great solutions. And what happens is that when we're with someone that really believes in us and believes in our ability to find solutions in our minds, we start believing in ourselves. We respond to that. So you may have had the experience where you're with someone who thinks you're awesome, you become more awesome. The flip side of that, which they call the Gollum effect, first, the good one is the Pygmalion effect, bad one they call the Gollum effect, is where you're with someone who thinks you're not so great, bag of dirt, whatever it is that you want to call it, and you start becoming more like that. You start going downhill because of the way the other person is thinking about you leads to the way they treat you in subtle and non-subtle ways. So transforming is about believing in the other person's ability to find the solution to the problem that they're bringing to you, or to have what it is that they really want. And people's minds, through the science of mirror neurons, right? Our minds actually mirror what's happening in other people's minds. If someone thinks we're awesome, we're going to start picking up on that in the different subtle and nonverbal ways, and our mind starts producing new and exciting ideas. So level 5 listening, where I'm paying attention to the person, I'm doing all the great things of mirroring, sensing, but now I'm taking it to the next level where I believe in the other person's mind and ability to find solutions, also changes my mind as the listener. Because instead of thinking that I need to find the solution for the person, what actually happens is I can relax. I can take that pressure off of myself to find the solution for them, and I can believe in my mind that they're going to find the solution. They are brilliant. They have a lot of great ideas. And the other person's mind tends to respond to that. Okay, now I'm telling you about this. I'm telling you the research supports it, that when you make this positive philosophical choice in other people's minds, their minds believe in it. But what I'd end this class today with is a challenge for you to try this and see what happens. That sit down with someone and start believing in their mind and their ability to solve their own problems and solutions. And what you have to do is listen, asking powerful questions, which we'll talk about next, but really listen to them with this belief in your mind that they are going to find the answer, and see what happens. Instead of putting the pressure on yourself to find the answer, see what happens when you believe in their ability to find the answer. And so there are 3 components that go into level 5 listening. The first is belief. I believe in your mind and your ability to find the answer. And that leads to number 2, which is interest and curiosity in your mind. Not in what my mind is going to produce for you, but more of what your mind is going to produce for you. And I'm becoming really interested. And the third element is space. Okay, when I believe in your mind and I'm really interested in what it is that you're going to say, and what you're going to say next after that and next after that, I'm able to provide you with space and time to think and time to reflect and time to think about what it is that is really most important to you, whatever it is that we're focusing on in the coaching session, and time to listen to those solutions as they pop up in your mind. Because that's what I'm really interested in. That's what the coach is pulling for. And that's when people start discovering new and exciting ideas. And that's where you get to what the ICF was talking about with thought-provoking and creative conversations with people, because of the incredible listening that you're providing through them, through the belief, the interest and space that you provide to them, because they don't feel pressured, they don't feel judged, they don't feel like you have the answer. Okay, now a lot of clients are going to say, no, give me the answer, tell me what you think. I tell them, I have some ideas, I'll share them with you at the end, so that if they're like, okay, he's going to share with me his thoughts, his ideas, but he's going to make me think first. And very often, more often than not, people forget to even ask, well, what were you going to tell me? What was your solution? What was your idea? Because they find exactly what it is that they're looking for. As Einstein said, the mind that created the problem also contains the solution. So most likely the solution is in their mind. And it requires us to pull that out of them, really believe in it. The nice side effect is, more often than not, people find solutions that are better for them, that we would have never come up with, because it's the right lock and key, it fits perfectly. Their problem, their solution. I would never have thought of that. And secondly, I actually am able to help them find something that they're really excited about, because, it came from them. Solutions that come from us are so much more inspiring to us than when they come from the outside. So the follow through is much better. So there you have the 5 levels of listening, from worst to best, from interrupting to waiting, mirroring, sensing to transforming, and the 3 elements of amazing level 5 listening, which is belief, interest, and space. Thanks for joining me.